Today, it's another wonderful session. The weather here at Hualien is a bit cold, as you could probably tell if you were at Xun Faxiang today that Master had paused several times due to her coughing. The weather has all of a sudden dropped in temperature, and we're all affected by our surroundings. However, today's teaching was indeed very, very important. And I hope that we could all look back to April 7th as something that's very insightful. I mean, every day is insightful, but I think today more so, especially for me, it's very eye-opening. And not just that, I think if possible, today, our session hopefully will be, I spent some time into it, and hopefully we could also answer some questions by the end of today's session. I think they will really open our understanding and of each other, of the Dharma. Okay, so let's move on to today's topic. Last week we talked about the 6 parameters, and we talked about these 4 in particular: precepts, forbearance, diligence, and samadhi. We go into each one, and we go into each one because Master spent one day for each, speaking specifically about each of these parameters. And so we talked about what Master said about for each of them and the stories associated with it. And I think that's very important for all of us to remember the stories, because it's easier for us to remember the stories than to remember the meanings. Then once we remember the stories and remember the meanings, then it will be easy for us to follow and to do what the teaching was supposed to say. So I think that's something that's easier for most of us to learn. And the second part is about deep faith. Having that deep faith is important. I think for the past 2 weeks, that has been the main key. In fact, today we're going to talk about, actually, it's going on for a lot longer than that. But deep faith has been something that has been talked about over and over and over, and it's something that we would always want to remember. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about. And it sounds like it's a lot. We're going to be talking about entering and understanding the inner world of Buddha's knowledge and wisdom. Wow. Can we really do that, Joe? Are we do that on Saturday for 30 minutes? Well, that's why we try, right? Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about that. And how do we adhere to Buddha's heart and true intention? And this is a little bit close to one of the questions that was asked about how do we truly understand the immense meaning behind the words from the sutra. Okay, so 1 and 2, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first, very important, entering and understanding the inner world of Buddha's knowledge and wisdom. Sounds wonderful. Can we do that? Okay, so if we all remember, the origin of Buddha's cultivation, the origin of what Buddha, the very, very first instant where the Buddha made the vow and the Buddha started the cultivation eons and eons ago, countless lifetimes ago. It was when it occurred in hell, and I think there was even a drama played by the Chinese opera. And it was on TV. It was on Dai TV, and it talked about how at the very, very first time, for the very, very first time, eons and eons ago, there was this. There were 2 of these beings in hell, and they're pulling the cart. And one of them was really, really old and was having trouble pulling the cart. And understandably, the cart was red because it was burning with fire. And the rope itself was actually tied and all completely stuck to our skin. And therefore, you can imagine the kind of pain that anyone would be going through, burning, the skin tearing off our body, and the pain, that suffering that one should go through. And when one of the being that was pulling the cart fell down, the other says, "Let me help you." And the guard next to them says, "Well, how can you help him when you yourself can't even help yourself. Okay? And from that point on, the one that offered to help says, yes, I'm willing to help. Let me do this. And obviously the guard was really unhappy because there's never been anyone, especially in hell, willing to offer helping hand to others. And so he was very angry, and he took his stick and then smacked the person that offered help. And therefore, that was the very beginning. That initial thought of wanting to help others started in hell, and that was the origin of the Buddha. So how do we enter an understanding the inner world of the Buddha? Well, we know that the Buddha came to this world. The Buddha came to this world with only one intention, with one intention of opening and teaching the Dharma to all and everyone. However, it's up to everyone, up to all the sentient beings to be willing to open themselves up and receive this. And what is this teaching? It boils down to a very simple idea. And this was the idea that the master kept on telling us, especially in the past week. I mean, this is something that master has been saying to us all along. And this is something that master has been saying that the Buddha told us all along. But especially in the past week, this was even more evident. Master said that through benefiting others, you benefit yourself. Starting at the moment that you decided to take part in cultivating, take part in the path of the Bodhisattva, of helping others, of relieving the suffering of other people. Beginning with that moment, you are already helping yourself. If we look back at the origin of the Buddha, the moment that he started thinking about helping this other being pulling the cart, even though he got struck in the head and right away he perished, he began his next lifetime in heaven and began his path, following his original thought and vow of helping others. And he began his journey on the cultivation. So through benefiting others, simply by thinking, that's all I want to do is to help others. Just by starting with that, you're already helping yourself. And that's an idea that is not foreign to any of us. It's not foreign to all of us. It's actually something that we are very close to. And in fact, that's what the Buddha has been saying. And not only that, the Buddha has been saying that it's a very long time, it's a very long duration, but it's actually can self-perpetuate. By helping others, you're helping yourself. And helping yourself, you're helping others. You will be able to help others more. And it's something that the more you do, the more that you're willing to appreciate. And the more you appreciate, the more that you're willing to help others. And the more you help others, the more you appreciate all of these things returning back to you, and you will be able to be willing to help others more. And so all in all of this is telling us that the Buddha came for one thing and one thing only. He came to tell us how and what he did to achieve Buddhahood. He came to tell us what he did throughout all these lifetimes. He came to tell us all that he did, all the things that he did throughout all the lifetime, in all the eons and eons of ages past. That's what he did to achieve Buddhahood. And he came to tell us we can do it too if we just follow the same path that he had taken, if only we would believe him. So all of that, all started with the origin. It started with that original vow that he wanted to help others. And then he realized that that's what he wanted to do. And along the way, while helping others, he cultivated himself an understanding that never deviating from his original intention. And that's what Master was talking about. Hey, did we lose track? Are we still on track of our original intention? Did we stay true to that? And every time Master talks about what was our original intent, what was our original vow, I always go back to when I first joined Tzu Chi, or when I first decided I'm going to stay here at the abode and this is going to be my life. And I always think back to that vow, and I always think to myself, that is a very puny vow, Joe. It's very puny. It's very small. I only made the vow to use my language skills to benefit and to spread the Dharma to all of those people who might not be able to understand what Master says due to different languages. That's my vow. And I thought to myself, every time that she mentioned, are you on your target? I always thought back to my vow. And then today, it really opened up my eyes. When I think back to Buddha's original vow, I thought back to myself and I thought, perhaps when Master says, don't forget your origin, don't forget your original vow, perhaps Master wasn't talking about when we first joined Tzu Chi. Perhaps she was talking about ages and ages ago. Perhaps she was talking about lifetimes ago when I made that original vow, but I just forgot about it. I just forgot about it. And every lifetime I keep on forgetting, so I keep on making new ones. And every time I keep on making new ones, it gets smaller and lesser all along the way. But she wants us to remember the origin, where we come from. That's why she says, when you see a tree, don't forget it started with the seed. When you see the fruit, the guo, don't forget that it started from a very simple cause. When you see Master who had cultivated for so much, when you see Buddha who already is enlightened and achieved Buddhahood, don't forget it started with something very simple, the origin, the story where Buddha all began. It was a very simple thought of helping others. Buddha came to the world to tell us that that's how he did it. So he was sharing the secret with all the people, except we don't believe him. We don't believe him. So Buddha spent the next 49 years, okay? So Buddha was enlightened under the Bodhi tree, the Bodhi tree, and explaining to everybody that we could all do the same thing if we just believe what he had gone through, helping others and selflessly, and you will be able to help yourself and eventually do this through an eternity. You will be able to help yourself achieve Buddhahood. Very simple, except we don't believe him. Or we believe him and then we encounter problems and then we go like, nah, maybe it's too hard. I don't want to do it. So Buddha spent the next 49 years telling everybody how we can do that, how we can believe, how we can achieve, and how we can overcome all the difficulties that we face. Whether it was 因缘果报, whether it was cause and consequences, whether it was through the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, the 12 links, or the 6 parameters, all of these are telling us how we can do what Buddha did. So the very first thing Buddha told us was what he did to achieve Buddhahood, except we don't know how, and we don't believe him. So for the next all time, in fact, until eternity, until even now, Buddha is still explaining to us how he did it. But do we believe him? And that's where we come into the second part. How do we adhere to Buddha's heart and true intentions? This is really the gist of how we should believe and how we can believe the Buddha, because it all comes down to belief. This is the word, faith, believe. This is the word, sentient, that has been used over and over and over. For the past week, or past 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, this is the core theme that has been going on. Do you believe? Do you have the faith to believe? Believe what? Believe what? Believe what? Believe in our Buddha nature. Believe that we all can achieve. Do not sell short on yourself. Do not think that you cannot achieve. Believe that you have it in you. If you would just follow the path that the Buddha said that we should follow, if you just overcome the difficulties with the tools that the Buddha gave you, then you would be able to achieve Buddhahood just like he did. Believe you have it in you. Believe your original vow. Believe that we are all here not by coincidence, but because we are here because we made the same vow at the same place. Not the small vulture's peak that is very small and only able to seat about 20 to 30 people, but in the much greater place that's in our inner world. That's just like the vulture's peak. Believe what? Believe in our original vow. Not the vow that we made yesterday, not the vow that we made on January 1st. Whenever there's a New Year's and we make a New Year's resolution and say, I'm going to wake up for Xun Fa Xiang every day, and I'm going to review Xun Fa Xiang every day, I'm going to do all that. Not that vow, or that vow is important too, but believe in our original vow, the vow that we made at the very beginning. Believe in it. Maybe we forgot about it. Maybe we forgot what it was. But believe that we have made that vow. That's why we are here. And that is why Master was talking about the tree and the seed. You see the tree is huge with a very healthy trunk, and all the leaves are blossoming, and all the flowers and fruit are blossoming. And you know that the seed was there, and you know the affinity was well around that was able to feed into the healthy growth of the tree. However, the same thing applies. If you see someone who is afflicted, if you see someone who is troubled, then you will know the fact that they are here means the seed was already planted ages and ages ago. However, we have deviated from what we said we were going to do. So Master was telling us, you see something, you have to think about the cause and the affinity, the conditions that make the seed ripe to grow into a tree. If the conditions were ripe and good, then the tree will be strong and healthy. However, if we deviated from the path, you could tell, and she's telling us that she could tell that we are afflicted and we need to stay true to our course, stay true to our path, stay true to the path that Master had laid out for us, stay true to the path, on the path that the Buddha had laid out in front of us. We all have the seed, we all have the Buddha nature, but the vow we somehow forgot, and the path is deviated. That's why we are not as strong and healthy a tree as Buddha or as Master, but we could still change that. We could still do that because we believe. We believe that we have the power to do that. And that's why it comes down to, I wanted to bring out these two particular keywords again. And there are many different ways of translating these two, but essentially the entire Lotus Sutra was split into two parts. The first part is called the derivative aspect, or Jimen. This is the path or the gateway where people have used stories and used their Buddha had used the stories and also analogies and also different ideas and different lifespans to share, to make people understand what he was trying to say. But starting on the second half, we enter into the original aspect, or Benmen. It goes into what the true meanings are, what no longer dealing with the skillful means, but goes into the original aspect. So why did I bring this up again? Because it goes into the idea of faith, the idea of belief. If we remember the derivative aspect, chapter 1 is the introductory chapter. That's when the Buddha was entering into samadhi and did not talk and shine light through between the eyebrows and all these things were happening. Okay, that was chapter 1. Buddha did not say anything. Starting from chapter 2, skillful means, was when Buddha began talking, began preaching, the beginning of the Lotus Sutra. Even though the beginning of the Lotus Sutra actually started with the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, but the body of the Lotus Sutra itself, Buddha began talking, was actually in chapter 2. If you remember in chapter 2, the most important part about chapter 2 was what? Well, there are many important parts. In fact, chapter 2 was very difficult. It was one of the more difficult in the derivative aspect, in the first half of the entire chapters. They're all important, but this one is especially difficult to understand. In there, if you remember, that Sariputra was the one that requested 3 times for the Buddha to begin explaining and began talking about the true Dharma, the true aspect. And that was in chapter 2, the beginning of the derivative aspect of the Lotus Sutra. And if you think about the original aspect, which began on chapter 16, the eternal lifespan of the Tathagata, if you look at that, the beginning of the original aspect, we also have the 3 times asking. And this time it's not by Sariputra, but it's rather by Maitreya, by Bodhisattva Maitreya, who asked the Buddha. And the Buddha finally said 3 times the importance of believing. So this was the segment from the beginning of the chapter 16. The Buddha spoke to the Bodhisattvas and all the great assembly. Good men, you must believe and understand the truthful words of the thus come one, or the Tathagata, or the Buddha. Okay, that's the same words. So again, he said the same thing. You must believe and understand the truthful words. And once more, he said again, you must believe and understand. So it's been there all along. The true theme has been there all along. Buddha came to the world telling everybody, hey, I have achieved Buddhahood. This is what I have done to do this. And if you don't know how, or if you have encountered problems on getting there, let me tell you how. Yet, you must believe, because it is only through belief that you will make the vow. Through the vow, would you be able to last for a long time, the duration that you will be able to last for a long time, that would you be able to continue the same practice. And that's what the Buddha was saying, that look what I have done. This is how I do it. And I've done this through a very long time. If you follow what I've done, follow how I've done it, and do it through a very long time, and don't give up, you will get it there. You will get there too. Do you believe it? And that's what it means. All spiritual cultivation and merit starts with faith. Do you believe? The moment that you stop following the path, believe it or not, that's when you lose the faith. That's when you begin to waver and thinking, is it going to happen? Am I really, this is Buddha's path? Am I going to be on where I want to be? Is this really going to be? The moment you start to question is the moment you begin to waver, is the moment you begin to lose faith. So it all starts with faith. Once again, in the past week, I think there's a lot of revelation. And this is something that we all could, for me especially, is very, very joyous for the past week. Every day that you're hearing, it's something new, even though it's the same words. The Buddha was saying that, the Master was saying that, but am I hearing that, right? So that's something that I think, once again, I wanted to boil down to something very simple. Buddha came to the world with one simple goal only, and that was to help all the living beings, all the sentient beings to achieve Buddhahood. He started with the very selflessness of helping others. He continued to do this with a very selfless act of trying to get every and all sentient beings to achieve Buddhahood. That didn't change. So he was telling everybody, this is how you do it, benefit others, but be on the Bodhisattva path, helping others, and at the same time, you'll be helping yourself. That's how he did it. Never stop, never wavering, continue to do it, and one day, on the way, you will reach Buddhahood. And once you reach Buddhahood, what do? You continue the same thing. You don't stop. And that's something that I thought is something very, very helpful to me, to always know that it isn't really difficult. It's not difficult at all. It's not hard to try to adhere to what Buddha was saying. But do you believe? And if you truly believe it, then you would try your best to follow the path. And all the things that Master had been saying today, whether it was the eight rightful path, whether it was all the 37 principles, whether it was all the different analogies of how we should follow by the precepts and and never deviate from our original intent and original vow. All of those are helping us to make sure that we have that original vow. And trust me, we all did. We all did. And follow that path and never waver and continue to go on. Whatever difficulties you find, you continue to get through that. So I wanted to end here with that. And if you do truly deep believe, then you would eventually be there. And believe what? What do you believe? You believe that we all have that in us. We have all made that intent and vow. We have all have that true Buddha nature in all of us. So the seed is there for everyone. We all have it. Some of us have grown to be strong and big. Some of us not so strong and big. So look at, in retrospect, what changed, what wasn't there. If it's not enough water, let's get more water, but never deviate from the path. And I wanted to go back to what we said last week and 2 weeks ago about the 6 parameters, about the importance of wisdom. I said that wisdom is there to help us choose what to use on the first 5 parameters. While that is still true, but these couple of days, I realized that the wisdom is not just there to help us choose, but also there to remind us, to not calculate, to not count the amount of merit that we got. So there was the story yesterday that Master said how one of the 10 disciples of the Buddha said that, for 31, he had continued following the same thought. So this is something that tells us that the true wisdom, and Master has said it before, wisdom out of the 6 parameter allow us to continue to go on for eons and eons and never stopping, and also never counting the amount of merit. So this is why in the distinct merit in this chapter, Master is talking about all the different people that have achieved different merits. And the reason why they achieve different merits, if you look at to their cause, if you look at to their condition, it was because some of them conditions were more ripe. Some of them, they might have deviated for some lifetime. Maybe they slacked off. Maybe they didn't do as much. But however it is, we all have that seed. We all can reach Buddhahood. It's the process. Can we actually hold on to it and stay long enough? Stay true. Don't stop in the middle. Don't deviate from the middle. We can all do this. So Buddha came to tell us, do what he did, know how he did it, hold on to it for a long time, and you will reach Buddhahood. So that's, I believe, the essence of what Master was teaching us for the past week. And that's my sharing for today.
Hello, yeah. Hello, everyone. We will have Brother Li Wei to share with us. Brother Li Wei is a pediatric surgeon, and he has went to Cambodia during last month.
Good morning, everybody. It's a privilege to be here, actually. Li Wei is my name. I'm a pediatric surgeon. I've been practicing since 2002. So I've been a surgeon for quite a long time. I just recently went to Tzu Chi's Cambodia mission about 2-3 weeks ago, and it was a very enlightening experience. Why would I say it's an enlightening experience? It's actually quite interesting because what I'm about to share actually coincides quite well with what Brother Joe has just shared this morning. That was not the first time I joined a Tzu Chi mission. I've joined a Tzu Chi mission for more than 10 times by now, I think, definitely, because I've been joining missions since 2003. But the one I just came back from a few weeks ago was probably the most satisfying one. Why would I say that? Because for the more than 10 times mission I have joined, I have been, as Brother Joe says, sort of losing my faith. Why do I say that? Is because every time when I go to the mission, I become very confused about what I'm trying to achieve. One, as a Tzu Chi member, and 2, as a surgeon. I'm a surgeon, so when I go to the mission, I look after the surgical part. If the patient needs operation, I send them to the operating theater. I myself or a colleague of mine would then do the operation for him. If he doesn't require an operation, or my operation cannot help, or he requires an operation that we are unable to perform in a mission setting, we send him to somewhere else, to the social workers, to Tzu Chi volunteers, to traditional Chinese medicine, or to the Western medicine, to the GPs. That's it. But it is not much different from what I do in the hospital. So after a few missions, I become very tired. Why do I feel that? Because I feel like I'm just doing a work. I don't feel the Dharma happiness. There's no Dharma joy coming into me after the mission. And I start wondering why. And the more I think about it, the worse I feel. Because the more you think, the more you question. Brother Joe mentioned a very interesting just now about belief. Belief is very important. But for medicine or Western medicine or science, it's even more important to question. It's the opposite. We question everything. Nothing holds true. Whatever you used to believe, question that, because it may not be true. So when a doctor or surgeon like me go to the mission, we frequently ask ourselves, and we get asked by our colleagues, are we making any difference? My colleagues often like to ask me, are you sure we are making any difference? You know, all those lump and bumps, small tumors that you take out in your surgical mission, even if you don't take it out, they will be fine. No one is going to die from that. No one is really going to suffer from that. The reason they come to the mission and now you operate is because you offer a free service. And if you're talking about the Western medicine, the GPs, the general practitioners, are they really making a difference? They see a lot of diabetes, they see a lot of high blood pressures, they give medicine for 2-3 months, and that's it. Medicine run out, blood pressure comes back, blood sugar comes back as well. So what medical difference are we really making? Are we making any medical difference? So our colleagues often ask us then, what are you doing the mission for? If you can't change the local healthcare, if you can't bring the permanent benefit to the local health, what are you doing the medicine? What are you doing the medical mission for then? I can't answer those questions, so I become confused myself. And the more we question, the more faith we lost. Then the less happiness you get, and the more the suffering it becomes, the more it becomes a job, and the vicious cycle goes on. So the mission, it's not supposed to be funny, by the way. Anyway, so about the mission I went to 3 weeks ago breaks the cycle. How does that break the cycle? Is actually coincide very well what Brother Xiu just shared this morning. Number one, when I went to the mission, being educated by one of my other colleagues, Brother Ho Yu Chin, who has also shared here before, I believe, me and my translator assistant begin 2 new practice. I often look after the patients before I bring them to operating theater. So the first practice is we begin to bow. We put our palms together and we bow for every single patient we see during the mission, before I start talking to them and after I talk to them. Very, very small gestures. I try to shake hands as well, but I try to bow. That makes a difference because I realized towards the second half of the mission, because there's many patients waiting and everybody is looking at me, seeing me bowing to everybody before and after. I realized towards the second half of the mission, every patient who go into operating theater, who don't go to operating theater, they start bowing to everybody. They start bowing to all the volunteers, they start bowing to all the doctors. So that was the first difference I decided to make. The second new things I decided to do is, I realized me and my translator, who's actually a medical student, she's very good. I share a lot of my learning from her actually. We decided that for every patient we see, whether they need operation or not, I must have seen more than 150 patients during that mission. We decided that doesn't matter whether they need operation or not. We want one thing from them at the end of our consult. And that thing is, we want their smile. So if they don't smile, we'll talk until they can smile to us. We'll try to solve their worry. We try to answer their questions as much as we can. In fact, out of the more than 150 patients I saw, I think many of them doesn't require operation. And it is those patients who didn't require operation, we spend even more time on them, talking to them, asking them, Why don't you want to go to why are you not seeing a local doctor? The problem that you have will have this future implication, or it doesn't really matter, it's okay, it's not going to matter your health. No, it's going to matter your health. Please go back to your local doctor. But I think the more important message we are trying to convey to them is, we care about you very much. I'm here to listen to what you say. And although I can't help, I want to make you feel better because I love you and I respect you. And I wanted to convey that message. And to my surprise, I'll probably say almost more than 90% of the patients, they did go away with a smile, especially those ones that we didn't have to operate. And here goes what Brother Joe has just shared the first time in the morning. We bring happiness to them. I myself feel the happiness. And as a result, this mission becomes the most satisfying mission I ever achieved. Because I realized through seeing all those smiles from those patients, there was this Dharma joy which I haven't experienced for a long time. Finally, I managed to find the Dharma joy from the medical mission. Something that everybody say is a very fulfilling trip, but I've joined so many times and I just can't find what is so fulfilling about medical mission. I don't understand that. So finally, I see the point. Finally, I see it. And it's like what Brother Joe has just shared. I went there, I tried to help with, not for them, not for myself, but in the process of giving them joy, I gain an even greater joy to myself. The second thing I have learned from the medical mission is like what you have shared as well. It is the believing. It's a very interesting thing. It's the faith and the deep belief. Yes, as a medical practitioner, as a surgeon, I question everything. I question every operation I do. Even though I did the operation, doesn't mean I bring the benefit. Who knows? I may have created more complication than benefit I bring. For all the lump and bung I remove, I may not have alleviated much discomfort. In fact, we may have created post-operative complications. The question is, there is no evidence to prove that. As doctors, we want medicine, we want evidence. It is evidence-based medicine. Show me the data. Show me the data that more patients are happier after the mission than before the mission, then I will believe that mission brings benefit. Nobody can provide that kind of data. As a result, nobody can provide the evidence. Hence, it is very hard for us to scientifically believe mission brings medicine. Hence, it's very hard for us to prove that mission is a good thing because there's no evidence to show so. There's no evidence, there's no data then. I'm going to say that is wrong. Why? Because I believe. True enough, everything I say still holds true. We don't have any data. We don't have any evidence to prove that the mission actually brings benefit. But there's one thing I believe and one thing I hold true. That is, all the 150 smiles I saw on my patient's face during those 2 days, those smiles are real. Those joy and those happiness are real. Nobody can convince me otherwise. And I don't need any evidence or any data to tell me that during those 2 days, my effort has actually brought much joy to those patients I saw. I don't need any evidence for that. I have very deep belief because I firmly believe during those 2 days, by treating those patients with love and respect, by treating those patients with a bow and making sure they smile at the end of consultation, I very believe I'm practicing that in the Tzu Chi way, in the way that Master would have wanted me to practice, and that is what Master taught me. Hence, I have the faith. That was a good thing. I don't need any evidence to prove that. That was the greatest lesson I learned, and hence I share. I thank everybody.
Brother Joe, you want to say something to who first?
Okay, I think now you can hear me. All right, so thank you, Doctor, for giving us the wonderful, wonderful sharing. Especially, we ourselves are not medical personnel, and we rarely have the insight that you have. Especially, we see all the doctors on these medical missions. You know, we look at them, and they are our, you know, they're our. There's something that we hold very high esteem to, because all the doctors are there to save people, and little do we know that you have so much internal struggles onto all of this. But I share with your thought. I'm a science person myself, and so believe is a very difficult word to use. However, I use it freely now because I also accepted that there are things that not by today's standard can be proven. Yet I accept it. I believe it because on some level I accepted there are things that cannot be proved now. Doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that it's beyond what we can comprehend. So I choose to believe it at this moment because even the proof is right in front of us, we would not be able to see it or understand it. But I thank you for your sharing because once again, it's something that opens our eyes. And Doctor, I would ask you to keep questioning. The more you question, the more joy that you are going to get. The more you question, the more that you will find the answer, and it's going to be a self-perpetuating cycle. The longer you stay on this journey, eventually you will find the answer. That's the belief. Don't stop just because you can't find the answer. The belief is that we will be able to find the answer one day. As long as we stay here long enough, you will find the answer. That's the belief, okay? Not believing that, oh, something existed or something else existed, but believing in that one day we would all understand this. And if I stay here long enough, if I do this long enough, that you would be able to see it and you will be able to understand it. So that's something that I want to echo on what Doctor has said. And I also wanted to add on to that. There's somebody asking, Master once mentioned that the verse, despite the repeated explanation, there are still more meanings and essence behind it. There's infinite meanings behind that. So does that mean, somebody asked me, does that mean different people reading the same verse will have different meanings? And I would like to have a different understanding of that. I would like to say the same verse, even read by the same person at different time, will even give you a different meaning. I'm not even talking about different people. Same thing. Look at what the doctor had gone through. The same medical retreats, the same thing that he's doing to help. The only difference might be I'm adding the palms together. I'm wanting another objective is to have their smile. But all the things are the same. The surgeries are the same. The helping are the same. All the steps, all the cut, the slice, all the same. But we have a different feelings towards it. So yes, it means that even the same verse to a same person could mean different. So let alone it would mean something different to everybody else because we all have different backgrounds. So I hope that also answers one of the questions. And thanks to doctors, what very wonderful sharing and give us an insight onto everything. And keep questioning because I know the truth is out there. The answer is there. We just need to stay long enough, believe long enough to find it. So thank you. And let's move on to the next sharing. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Jane from Singapore as well. I'm a TCM physician. I went to the Cambodia mission on last trip with Dr. Li Wei as well. Unlike the Western medicine, who is evidence proven and prove me until it is, unless it's proven, if not, I don't believe it. TCM is the other way around. We are very obedient. So on the Cambodia mission, we actually were asked, about 10 of us were asked to go to another site on Saturday, the second day of the mission. We were asked to go to a new site called TIDA. TIDA is a government organized charity organizations run by the Prime Minister's son. So we were asked to go there to build a good rapport as well as to see the patients there. So I'm the TCM lead, so therefore I am going with 5 Malaysia TCM physicians plus 3 Taiwan physicians. So when we went to the TIDA, over there, when we reached there, is about 2,000 patients have registered. So we are about to start. So we were very energetic and we went into the TCM room and sad to say that when we went there, during the first hour, we only see about 3 patients. We have 10 physicians, but we only see 3 patients. So that is not a good sign. I understand that because that TIDA, this is the first time they have TCM, and the local has not seen any TCM treatment, have not received any TCM treatment before. So I was faced a dilemma. Brother Min Xin actually, Min Xin is Cambodia person, our lead person. So he feel bad also. So he offered to me that how about I bring all the TCM physicians, all the 10 of us, back to the original mission ground, which is Kampong Chennai. So that because we have a lot of patients over there waiting for us. But deep in my heart, I say we were here. Definitely there's a reason for that. Besides the official reason that is to build good rapport with the local people, local official. But I believe there's a reason for us. I believe strongly in the karma and affinity. So I don't want to give up so easily. So initially I talked to Sister Mei Ling, trying to ask her how about to go through some talking to the person in charge and let them refer patients to us. Mei Ling sister actually told me that they have already gone through the proper channel. That's from the official all the way down to different medical discipline. But I think TCM is really too new to them. So nobody was referred to us except the 3 that we got for the first hour, and we left with 2 hours only. So so Mei Ling said also because TIDA is actually the mission ground at TIDA is actually run by the charity organization, but it's not Tzu Chi. We are not the main group, coordination group. So it's not nice for them after mentioning that, and they still go and push further. So, but I was very disappointed. So I think Sister Mei Ling read my facial expression. So she was telling me, say that although we cannot go and interfere, but because you are TIMA, you are kind of like outside external party. So it is okay if you go and jail more patients. So with that kind of a underdog, so what I did is, okay, so we cannot go through the formal channel. So how about I go to the informal channel? So what I did is I go to the outside the mission ground. I don't know who to approach, and I cannot bring along the translator because we have 10 physicians there, including myself, but I have only 3 translators. So I cannot afford to bring any translator with me. I just went out to the mission ground and I look around, and whenever I see some patients just sitting down there, waiting for their chance, waiting for their friends or something, I just approach them. And I just ask, I think they don't understand me, neither do I understand them in the language per se. So what I do is I just gesture, I just keep pointing to my knee, pointing to my back and say, hello, doctor, over there, free, now, no need to queue up. So that's how I approach them. I think the body language is a universal language. So some of them, they look at me, staring at me blankly, but some of them, they kind of like understand what I say, but still doesn't want to move because they don't know what I say. They don't know where I bring them to. So I guess, but it's like what Master said, if you believe strongly that what you're doing is right, just do it. So I think somehow when I keep talking the more with my body language, there are some passerby who is actually volunteers, local volunteers. They saw me and then they kind of understand my English, but they cannot speak. So what they do is they help to translate. So this happened and a few times. Eventually, I managed to bring the patients to the TCM room. And many times after a few attempts, I noticed that actually it works. And the more you think what you are doing is right, just do it. And somehow there will be bodhisattva emerging from the ground. Eventually, I managed to bring about 74 patients to the TCM site within 2 hours. And I keep the, thank you. I keep the TCM physician very busy. And the most happy things is when we close at 12 o'clock, by words of mouth, there are a group of about, I think, 15 over locals. They are actually crowded at the outside our TCM room and wanted to see TCM because they benefited from the treatment and they really relieved their pain. So therefore, they refer some more. But it's just that we do not have time to treat someone because we have to go back to Kampong, Chennai. So what I learned is what Master said, we believe in our intention, is selfless, then we just do it. And also if we do not take on the task, who will do it? So just do it with faith. Faith is something that I really learned from this lesson. I would like to share some pictures and a short script. Master's talking about this, about what I have shared. This is the first picture. This is the TIDA, the local student, because we have the mission at the primary school. So you notice the people there are like back in 1960s or 70s where students don't wear shoes. Hardly they will wear shoes. But they have a very decent and innocent look. So when we, I think one of the brothers just asked them to take photo, they are very obediently just sitting next to me and wave and do all the kind of friendly gesture. That is one thing that we always move us as a medical volunteers. We go there, people trust us, even though they do not know exactly how we were able to help them. This is the group of TCM physicians. This time we have 3 countries, 5 from Malaysia, 6 from Singapore, and 3 from Taiwan. How do we get, eventually we got about 4,000 patients just one morning in TIDA. How they do it is, I think they have this broadcasting of a message about this mission, and it's a free treatment. So the village people receive the information from their community. Then they will have a local community to have the van to send them here. So this is the trucks, I mean the vans of lorries of patients coming over. And this is how they get out of the bus. This is one, because over there, the TIDA, we don't have much, because first time we have the TCM treatment, so we don't have enough bottles to hold the needle, acupuncture needle. So I was looking for some containers because we really don't have, we don't want to anyhow dispose the needle. It is, yeah. This is one of the, I think, Ministry of Health highly ranked official. So he just visited our site. So we need to do good rapport with him. So we're just listening to him. These are the ground that I was eyeing at my potential patients. They were there to hang around and waiting, you know. So therefore I just approached them and yeah. And it is quite good results. These are the mission ground where people are just hanging around. Yeah. So lastly, I would like to share a short clips of Master's sharing. Yeah. I guess with that, actually, one thing I just have to learn is actually during this mission to go out to woo patient is not the usual one that I would like to do because a bit paiseh. And you know, being a medical volunteer, you don't need to go to the extent that you go out like a salesman to get patients. But what I have in mind is very simple. Is I want to make all the CCM physicians able to treat as many patients as possible, and that was why they were here. So I should help them to help others in need. So that is my simple thought, and it works. Thank you. That's my sharing.
Thank you, Sister Jane, for your sharing. Indeed, I'm so glad that, you know, as people of science, I think most of us, we would, if somebody were to speak in a completely different language from me and come to me and using sign language and telling me to go see some unknown doctor on the street, I'm telling you, I will not go. But I think the people at Cambodia are definitely more wise than I am. And because they are wise, they are saved, they are helped. And I think this goes into belief. Once again, faith. Do you believe in the kindness of strangers, of other people? Do you believe in yourself that you have the power to be able to, affect other people? And when you do, then you will have that power to do so. So I thank you again for relentlessly trying and never giving up. And there are always people around you, friends around you, to encourage you, to tell you, hey, it's okay. We're not formal, but we can do something on the side. And you still got away with how many? 71, 72, 74? That many people. And I really believe what Master says is that how deep and how wide our life goes, it depends on us. You could just turn back and say, you know what? I don't need to know these 74 people or 72 people. That's not part of my original life. My life, I would not have gotten to know these people anyway. But it's because of Tzu Chi, because of Master, allow us to expand our horizon. So we would not have the chance to meet each other, to see the people of Cambodia, but now we can. And you didn't have the chance because you are very paiseh. You would not have the chance to see these additional 70-some patients, but now you do. And that's what we can make ourselves because we believe we can do that. And they believe that we can do it too. And when you have a lot of people that believe, then you're going to have many good things happening. So thank you for that wonderful sharing. And it seems that we have a little bit time left. And I would like to go into, let me see. I would like to go into some of the questions that we have here. There's a question, number 2 here, that asks about the difference between fragmentary samsara, 分段生死, and 变异生死. So transformational samsara, and why must we try to transcend both? And once again, life and death in terms of Dharma isn't talking about our body's life and death. It is not talking about how our body is going through decay or going through illness. It's talking about, in Dharma, it's talking about how our thought, our mind deviates from our original intention. So 变异生死, 分段生死, it just depends on how often we change our minds, how often we're changing our thoughts, and how often we are staying on course. We need to transcend that so that we can stay on course and doing what we need to do. And that's why we need to transcend that. And I think that was the very, very quick answer to that. Okay, and then on the third question, which one is more important, or are they equally important? I think the person asking the question probably already know the answer. Tzu Chi school of Buddhism, that's Zhongmen or Jingsi Dharma lineage. I think they are important, but in different ways. They're both important, but in different ways. Just like water and food. Yes, we need water to survive. If we don't drink water, I think the doctors would know this. I think for, I don't know how many, water and food and air, right? If you don't have food for 3 or 4 or 5 days, you can still survive. If you don't have water for less than that, you cannot survive. And if you don't have air for, say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then you cannot survive. So they are all important, because if you only have water, you still can't survive on its own. If you only have air, you can't survive without food. And if you have food and water, but without air, you can't survive. So which one is more important? They're all important, but they're there for different purpose. They're there for different purpose. Jing Dharma lineage gives us that safety net that we can fall back to know why we're doing something. Tzu Chi school of Buddhism and the Tzu Chi school of Buddhism, Zhongmen, allow us the free ground for us to do what we need to do, to practice and learn. So Master talked about today about the tree, the idea of the tree, the cause, the seed and the tree. The seed is the cause, the effect is the tree. But you need the condition in order for the seed to become the tree. And what's the condition? The people. You need to have the group of people. You need to have these clinic missions, free clinic missions for us to learn. You need to have this platform so that everybody can share their thought, so that you learn is the same thing as I learn. Your understanding is the same as my understanding, because we are learning together. Without this platform, we would not learn. But without Jing Dharma lineage, we wouldn't know why. So are they important? They're both important, but they're important for different reasons. We need them at different times in our lives. Sometimes we do a lot, but we forgot why. Just like Dr. Cheng shared with us, doing all the time, but you forgot the why is very dangerous, because you lose the joy. But the moment that you have that Jing Dharma lineage sprout out, then you will get to do more school of Buddhism. So they're both important. Last question. How do we strengthen Jing Dharma lineage together with Tzu Chi school of Buddhism so that everyone can charge ahead in our latest recruitment exercise? Wonderful. It starts with all of us. Do you believe? Do you really believe in Jing Dharma lineage? And if you do believe, you would just be like Dr. Cheng. Let me tell you once again, if I see someone speaking in a foreign language, looks very different from me on the street of Taipei, and asking me to go and donate my kidney, let me tell you, I would never do that, okay? I would never do that, because why would I think about donating kidney? Because your sign language is telling me I have a kidney here and I need you to come here. No, I would not do that. But if you truly believe it, just like what Dr. Cheng believed, then people will believe you. So it's not that everyone don't charge ahead. It's how much do you believe in yourself so that you are willing to charge ahead. And if you are believing so much and deeply, 身心信解, then all the rest of the people will be affected by you too. And that's how our life will expand our horizon, will be broaden and deepen our life effect. And that's what Tzu Chi and that's what Master is trying to do to us, to help us realize that we can become Buddhas if we follow the path continuously, never stop. Answer is always out there. If we stay long enough, you will hear the answer. Just like even though it's already past 8 o'clock, if you stay long enough, you will find some of the reply to some of these questions. So thank you once again. The time is over, and it's a very fruitful sharing from our friends, from Dr. Li Wei, and also Dr. Cheng for sharing with us. And once again, we will be seeing, I think some of you will be returning to Taiwan next week or very soon, and we should see each other very soon. So thank you, and good wishes to all of you, and hope we all have a very good week. Thank you, and bye-bye.